Hi there guys, my name is Tim. How is everybody doing? I hope you're all okay. Today we are going to be looking at the key cards that you can get in your Gate Guardian deck. We're going to be running through a few cards that you find in the main deck, plus covering each of the fusion summon monsters that we're going to be using in our extra deck for Gate Guardian. I also played Gate Guardian this week at my locals, this past Friday just gone. And I'd like you to play a little game with me. I'd like you to please guess what record that you think that I got when I tell you the decks that I faced when I played with my Gate Guardian deck profile that I gave you last week. So, I played the exact deck, and I played against, I played 4 rounds, and played against, during the can you tell I'm stalling? Can you tell I've forgotten the first deck that I played against? The first deck that I played against was Runic Stun, or Runic Sprite. I then played against Umi Control, and that was my good friend Antonio. And I played against Red Dragon Archfiend, and I played against Madolche. Can you guess what record that you think that I got during the course of the night? So yeah, put that down in the comment down below. Also make sure whilst you're down there to subscribe to the channel, because I really want to hit like 250 subscribers by the end of the year. I think that's doable, and I think that is a really good goal to try and get to. So I'd love to be able to hit that as quickly as possible. So thank you very much to everybody who has subscribed so far. But with that, let's get into the talking about the cards. So we're going to cover some of the main deck cards, and then we're going to cover all of the fusion monsters that we've got in the deck, so that you know how to use them, what best to do with them, and yeah, be able to go from there. And then next week we'll go through a little bit of a combo guide for you, so make sure you check that out. All right, let's head on over. Alright, so these are the 7 cards that we're going to be looking at today. So the main point of Gate Guardian is to be able to assemble various pieces of Gate Guardian. So I didn't get these out prepared, but you are looking to add your pieces of Gate Guardian, so your Sangra the Thunder, your Kazejin, and your Suijin, to your hand, place them on the field either by special summoning or placing them in your spell and trap zone as continuous spells, or send them to the graveyard in order to be able to contact fuse for Gate Guardians combined essentially, but any of the other Gate Guardian fusion monsters as well if they're on the field. So you've got a variety of ways that you can do that. You've got fusion deployment, for example, which is very straightforward in terms of reveal a fusion monster and just special summon one of its materials out there. But Magician's Souls and Elemental Hero Prisma are kind of a little bit more in depth than that, and in some ways better ways of doing it. So let's go through Elemental Hero Prisma for a start. So once per turn, you can reveal 1 fusion monster from your extra deck, then send one of the fusion materials whose name is mentioned on that card from your deck to the graveyard. This card's name becomes the sent monsters until the end phase. Now, the important thing about this is sending the monster to the graveyard is a cost. So you're using that as a cost to activate the effect, which means that regardless, that goes through, and you can send whichever fusion material that you want, whichever one you need, out of Suijin, Kazejin, and Sangra the Thunder. And then the extra effect is that Prisma's name will become that monster's name until the end phase, which means you can then use him on the field to be able to special summon out a different, or use it as a replacement for one of the other monsters, the monster that you sent. So that you can get him off the field as well. It's really useful, the fact that you can do it as cost. So even if he gets negated, all the negating is turning his name to Prisma. They're not negating the sending the monster from deck to graveyard, which is so useful. So really handy to have Elemental Hero Prisma in the deck. It's also why we run a Hero Lives, so that we can get Prisma onto the field for that very reason. Next up, we've got Magician's Souls. Magician's Souls, half of its effect is unusable because we don't use Dark Magician here. But you do have the effect of, you can send 1 level 6 or higher spellcaster monster from your deck to the graveyard, then activate one of these effects and special summon this card, which is incredibly useful to be able to send your copy of Kazejin to the graveyard. It has to be Kazejin specifically, the others are not spellcasters. but it is really useful to be able to send Kazejin to the graveyard and then get an extra body on the field. And Magician's Souls can be used as a perfect setup into a Relinquished Anima, or if you also get Prisma on the field as well through your normal summon, you can then go into one of your Link 2s if you'd like, an RP Masquerade, or potentially an SP Little Knight if you do have it in the deck. You also have the added effect with Magician's Souls of being able to send 2 spell or traps from hand and or field to the graveyard to draw that many cards, which some of our cards, and quite a few of our cards, are placing our pieces of Gate Guardian in our spell and trap card zone as continuous spells. You can send those to the graveyard, and as long as you're not attempting to summon one of the smaller pieces of Gate Guardian, which have to have them on the field, if you're going for Gate Guardians combined, then they don't mind being in the graveyard at all. You can just send them to the graveyard without any issues whatsoever in order to be able to draw 2 cards. So that's it's a fantastic little added effect that you can use with Magician's Souls as well. So it's really useful to just be able to get stuff into the graveyard and get yourself a draw. Not to mention, some of the spells and traps that we use within the deck, let me just grab a couple of them, have the extra effect of, so let's go with Double Attack Wind and Thunder, for example. Double Attack Wind and Thunder, the first part is target a card and destroy it, which is fantastic. But your second effect is you're able to banish this card from your graveyard to add a Sanga, Kazejin, or Suijin that is banished during your deck to the hand. So, you know, using Magician's Souls, if you have Double Attack Wind and Thunder in your hand, it's not completely out of the realms of possibility to just send that to the graveyard in order to be able to get another search, plus a draw 1 from that. So it's absolutely fantastic. All right, let's move on to Labyrinth Wall Shadow next. So monsters cannot attack the turn that they are summoned, except for monsters whose original level is 5 or higher. Once per turn during your main phase, you can place one of your Sangre de Thunder, Kazejin, or Suijin that is banished or in your hand or deck face up in your spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. At the start of your opponent's battle phase, you can target one monster your opponent controls less than 1600 attack and destroy it. Now, that last effect comes up every now and again, particularly any link monsters that have been lingering around and might just be tickling you at the end of the battle phase. You can just destroy them. You can just pop them straight away in the battle phase. Really, you're going to be using this a lot for your placing one Sangre de Thunder, Kazejin, or Suijin into your onto your spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. Now, that is not a once per turn. So that is, you can do that multiple times. That is a soft once per turn. So if you've got multiple copy of Labyrinth Wall Shadow, or indeed you've got the way to search it out, which is from Shadow Ghoul of the Labyrinth, you can just use multiple of these in order to set up your spell and trap zone with continuous spells of Sanga, Kazejin, and Suijin. Monsters cannot attack the turn that they are summoned, except for monsters whose original level is 5 or higher. Really useful against XYZ or Link-based strategies, because they won't be able to attack the turn that they're summoned. Most Fusion and Synchro decks now are, they get to that 5 or higher threshold. So they don't really have an effect against those sorts of decks. But yeah, you can absolutely use this for stopping Xyz and Link plays in their tracks. All right, so that's the main deck cards that I wanted to cover. Let's go on to Gate Guardians Combined now. So Gate Guardians Combined is the one that you're going to be trying to summon the most, because he's the easiest to summon, essentially. So all of these cards that we're sending to the graveyard, using Magician's Souls and Prisma, you can still use them for Gate Guardians Combined, as well as any that you happen to just draw into. Because having Suijin, Kazejin, and Sanga in the hand, most of the time you're not able to get them on the field if they end up in the hand. So Gate Guardians Combined is your way of still using those in your hand. So you must be special summoned from your extra deck by banishing the above cards from your hand, field, and or graveyard. When your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a card that you control, quick effect, you can negate that effect, and if you do, destroy that card. You can only use this effect of Gate Guardians Combined thrice per turn. So you got 3 usages of that protection from targeted spells and traps and monster effects, just targeted cards against anything that you control. So it's really useful for that. And then if this card, face-up card, special summoned card in its opponent's sorry, I butchered all of that. If this face-up special summon card in its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card, you can special summon one level 11 or lower Gate Guardian monster from your deck or extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions, which gets you access to these a lot easier than attempting to get a Sanga and a Suijin on the field, for example, which can take multiple turns to do. So there's your Gate Guardians combined. He's really useful as a bit of protection. And a lot of cards, you know, if a card specifies targeting, then negate and destroy 3 times per turn against them. It was really useful in my duel against the Runic deck, because most of those Runic cards do target, so I was able to negate a lot of those. Next up, we've got Gate Guardian of the Water and Thunder. So, this requires Suijin and Sanga. Must be special summoned from your extra by banishing the above cards that you control. So they must be on your field in order to do so. And then once per chain, quick effect, you can target one face-up monster that your opponent controls and change its attack to 0 until the end of this turn. Now, as a quick effect, you can do that during the battle phase. That's absolutely fine. And I've, on Master Duel, a lot of times when people read even less on Master Duel, just being able to change a monster's attack to 0 until the end of the turn and just pop their monster because they've attacked into you is fantastic. And then you can also only use this effect of Gate Guardian of the Water and Thunder twice per turn. So you've got 2 usages of that. Really useful to be able to just lower to 0 and deal a bunch of damage. And if they don't read, then you get two of these off. It's fantastic. And then if this face-up special summon card, its owner's control, leaves the field because of an opponent's card, you can special summon one of your banished Suijin or Sanga of the Thunder. So you can recycle your materials from the banishment using this. And Suijin and Sanga also have the effect of being able to reduce monsters to 0 when they get attacked. So it's kind of perfect for that as well. Next up, we've got Gate Guardian of Wind and Water. We've got Kazejin and Suijin used for this. One must be special summoned from your extra deck by banishing the above cards that you control. Then once per chain, when your opponent activates a spell or trap card on effect on the field, quick effect, you can negate that effect, and you can only use this up to twice per turn. Again, really useful for just being able to negate spells and traps. There's not a massive amount of negates because Gate Guardian combined is negate of targeted effects. Being able to negate a generic spell and trap is really useful. If this card is special summon card in its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card, you special summon one of your banished Kazejin and Suijin. Really useful card to go into after Gate Guardians combined. If Gate Guardians combined gets popped during your main phase, going into the Wind and Water can be really useful to stop them from being able to use any spells and traps going forward. And then you've got Gate Guardian of Thunder and Wind, which is an extender for the deck. So you can summon this by sending Sanga of the Thunder and Kazejin to the banish that you control. During your main phase, you can add one spell or trap from your deck to your hand that mentions Sanga of the Thunder, Kazejin, and Suijin, which all of the spells and traps that you're going to be searching mention all 3 of the cards. So don't worry about that. It's just it's very specific, but it actually doesn't matter. And you can only use this effect once per turn. It's a shame that that's not twice per turn like the others, but that would be a little bit broken if it was. And then it's the usual, you can summon a Sanga of the Thunder or Kazejin if he gets sent, if he leaves the field because of an opponent's card. So that is the main monsters that you're going to be using and the main cards that you're going to be using within this deck. It is a really fun deck to do. I absolutely love it. I love the nostalgia of it as well. Being somebody who watched the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, the Gate Guardian episode was one where, you know, when Yugi and Joey are facing off against the Paradox Brothers, it's just, it's such a great, because it's so much jeopardy in that episode, because Gate Guardian feels like an unstoppable monster, that it's really nice to be able to play a deck involving them. So let's move on to how I got on during locals. If you haven't put down below what you think that the record that I got in locals was, then please do make sure that you comment now. It is your last chance to do so, because I am about to reveal in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so over the course of the night, I got 1 win, 2 draws, and 1 loss, which is a bit of a shame. I wanted to do more with this deck. Unfortunately, 2 time limit draws in duels 1 and 2 against Runic Sprite and Umi Control kind of put pay to that. I did manage to beat the Red Dragon Archfiend deck, which I was happy about. I think just knowing what to stop where, because I play Red Dragon Archfiend, was really important during that. And then, unfortunately, I lost against Madolche after a couple of bricked hands. But let's go through specifically what happened in those duels. So first up, against Runic Sprite. Now, I'm going to preface this by just saying I hate Runic so much. I can't stand Runic. It just stops you at every opportunity, and I don't know. Stop playing on my turn. It's my turn. Stop playing on it. Yeah, he opened up and he went first, and he set up a board of Gigantic Sprite and a few other cards as well that, you know, he had his quick play spells. He did have Runic Fountain out. He had a little bit of everything going on. The duel went, the first duel went for ages. The first game went ages. We were kind of doing a bit of back and forth. He didn't really want to try and attack into me. It's not his game plan to do any of that. He's just trying to stop me wherever possible. But because of my ability to keep summoning Gate Guardian back whenever one leaves the field and stuff like that, I was able to match him on the stall, just wasn't, and keep chipping down at his life points. But unfortunately, wasn't able to do so fast enough before I eventually decked out, which really sucks. But yeah, his Runic deck just decked me out, and what can I say? That's the strategy. That's what he's trying to do, and it sucked. It really did suck. Going on to game 2. I did manage to immediately at the start of I went first, and during my first turn I set up Gate Guardians combined alongside an IP Masquerader, just in case I used up all of my negates with it, and then I could sort of link it off for something else and spin something back using a Nightmare card or something like that. I did use up a couple of the negates because his Runic cards all target, so you know, targeting effects don't do anything. And then I also attacked over a Gigantic Sprite during my turn 3, so I managed to do like a little bit of chip damage to him, and then time was called, which means that I was winning on life points during game 2. He took game 1, so it was a time limit draw, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame. I feel like I had a little bit more of a foothold in game 2 than I did in game 1, but it is what it is, so we went to a draw with that one. Next up, Umi Control, and we took on our good buddy Antonio. Go and check him out on YouTube. He runs under the new channel name of Sons of Russell. Go and check him out. He's a fantastic YouTuber and he's a good friend of mine. And we play Yu-Gi-Oh! Together quite regularly. I've played against his Umi deck a lot, but he has made a lot of changes to it recently, adding in a Shark engine and using a lot more of the extra deck, which he just ran full control before. He uses more of the extra deck now. And it was a similar story. Game 1 went incredibly slow, as you can imagine. It's Umi Control. I managed to work around his effects a little bit, because Umi Control is attempting to get you to not be able to summon monsters because he's got Ocean Dragon Lord Kairyu on the field, which you cannot control monsters other than water monsters. You can only control one monster other than a water monster, but we actually have water monster in our deck in Gate Guardian of Water and Thunder, and of course Suijin. So we were able to play around that a little bit, so I actually had more monsters on the field than I normally have when I'm playing against Umi Control. So it did mean that at times we could have like Gate Guardians combined and Suijin or Water and Thunder. Water and Thunder? Yeah, Water and Thunder on the field. So we've got our water monster there as well. It was a slow-paced game, as you can imagine. He controlled the board really well, and unfortunately was able to bring out an unstoppable sort of General Raiho and Ocean Lord Dragon Kairyu and Mega Fortress Whale, I believe that he got out as well as one of his Xyz. And because of General Raiho forcing me to discard in order to use any effects or anything like that, I eventually ran out of cards that I could discard and was just like, oh, it's going to be game. But that again ran for about 30 minutes, that first game did. And it was 45-minute rounds. So we quickly went into game 2. And again, I'm pretty sure that Antonio bricked quite hard. I managed to get in an early attack with Gate Guardians combined directly to his life points. Or was it attacking over Electric Jellyfish? It might have been attacking over Electric Jellyfish now that I think about it. And he then drew into the card which would have then allowed him to start plays when time got called. So I was then up on life points, which means that I took game 2 and therefore we went to another draw. I was determined after this to not get any more draws. I was sick of drawing at this point. So we went into to game 3 against Red Dragon Archfiend. Now, I will preface this by saying the kid I was playing against with Red Dragon Archfiend, I'm pretty sure that he's fairly new to the game, and unfortunately didn't fully know his way around the deck, and I was able to use that to my advantage. So he was happy to, he went first on game 1, and he was happy to just end on a Scarred Dragon Archfiend and didn't attempt to go into it. But essentially, he misplayed around his Crimson Resonator quite a lot. So he didn't realise just how good Crimson Resonator is as a card. And instead of, when using Bone Archfiend's effect and then sending them to the graveyard for Red Rising Dragon, instead of using Red Rising Dragon to bring back Crimson Resonator to then go from there, he brought back Vision Resonator because he wanted to search for Crimson Gaia, which is understandable, but also he didn't quite realise what damage Crimson Resonator can do. So he brought out Scarred Dragon Archfiend. I was able to sort that out with my my Gate Guardian combined without any issue. He did deal a little bit of damage to me at some point. I can't remember what it was that caused that damage to me. But either way, I ended up lower on life points than him. Oh, I think I brought him out using A Hero Lives. So I ended up on lower life points than him, which allowed me to then use Roroku Guardian and half his life points, add it onto my Gate Guardian combined, and then just absolutely obliterate him during game 1. So I took him out in game 1. Game 2 was unfortunately a little bit sad and upsetting. He got really frustrated because he attempted to use Red Rising Dragon wrong and banish it from his graveyard in order to just special summon 2 Resonators, where it was specifically it has to be 2 level 1 Resonators. So he tried to bring back his Synchron Resonator, which is a level 1, but then also his Creation Resonator, which is a level 3. When I pointed this out to him, he unfortunately got a little bit upset because he'd been struggling all night, and I think he'd played against decks. Well, he played against Madolche beforehand, and they just stopped him from playing the game pretty much. And he got frustrated and just conceded the duel there and then, unfortunately, which is a shame. Afterwards, I took him to one side and I taught him some Red Dragon Archfiend combos just to try and help him out. I don't like seeing anybody upset or frustrated when playing Yu-Gi-Oh! It's not the point of the game. I mean, half of the point of the game is frustrating your opponent, but not to that extent where they just quit. I taught him a Red Dragon Archfiend combo to be able to get, like, Bane. He didn't have Disbatter, but to get Bane and Red Dragon Archfiend and Scarred Dragon Archfiend onto the field and things like that. I also showed him the Bastille Engine, which would allow him to summon King Calamity, because from what he was saying, he'd been summoning King Calamity wrong. He'd been summoning King Calamity on his turn to stop them from using traps, which is perfectly acceptable, but not the best way of using it. So I showed him the Bastille Engine as well. But unfortunately, he left soon afterwards and didn't finish off the tournament because he was too frustrated, which is a shame. But it's a frustrating game at times, and I can understand. Lastly, we played against Madolche, and this was frustrating to me as everything. Like, Madolche, I've never played against Madolche before, didn't know what they did. There was a lot of spinning stuff back into my deck and stuff like that, and I was not happy with it. She managed to she went first and brought out a really good board, and I unfortunately bricked. I did not manage to get 3 pieces of Gate Guardian in my hand or on the field or in the graveyard, so I couldn't summon out Gate Guardian combined. I feel like I might have had a chance if I'd have done that. I'm not sure whether, because I couldn't use Gate Guardian combined, I didn't check whether her cards targeted. If they did target, then I feel like I could have got a good foothold if I'd have managed to get combined on the field, but I'm not sure whether they do or not. I'd have to look that up. So yeah, unfortunately, both games I bricked, and it really sucked. I got nothing game 1, and she was just able to take me down pretty quickly. Game 2, I went first, again got nothing. I had an Imperm on the field, but absolutely nothing going for me, and it was a real shame. And I was annoyed that I feel like there was potential there for me to be able to get something if I'd have actually drawn into any decent cards, but I just didn't, and it's the way it goes. So yeah, 1 win, 2 draws, 1 loss during our locals this week, and yeah, I've done what I wanted to do. I wanted to play Gate Guardian at locals. I didn't expect to do particularly well, and honestly, I'm happy with the results that I got. I technically went neutral, I suppose, but only 1 loss is pretty good in my eyes. Realistically, I probably would have lost against Runic Sprite. I think I got a foothold against Umi Control in game 2. So had we had more time, maybe I could have snuck out a win there. But I think I probably lost against Runic Sprite regardless. So, yeah, that was my story of locals. Please do subscribe down below if you've enjoyed this content. Make sure you like the video, comment down below, and yeah, I'd love to get to 250 subscribers by the end of the year. That'd be fantastic if we could. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed and who has watched the video to this point, and I will see you next time. Bye.